Anime over the years has expressed itself in many different ways. Obviously, it has started with still animation, and as anime has progressed, with the use of technology, it is more common to use digital methods. There have been many different techniques with anime in terms of animation, both processes and styles, the way colour and imagery are used, or even using rotoscoping. Anime studios are not afraid to venture out and experiment on how to produce anime. In this video, I'm going to talk about the visual style of CGI in anime, a style that is perhaps very controversial amongst anime fans. Computer animation has become a lot more affordable and accessible, and therefore we see the increased use over the years. We have seen a lot of CGI far more early in the West, both in Europe and America, or even some other countries in Asia, such as China and South Korea, yet Japan, being either very traditional or perhaps not wanting to cater to the rest of the world, mainly stuck to 2D animation. We have seen CGI used in anime very early on, but it hasn't been very prevalent until recent years. Anime studios try to replicate the look of cel animation, whereas most Western animation is not. And because of 3D animation tries to replicate the look of 2D, a lot of the time it looks wrong. Now the problem with CGI is that could the same source material look better in 2D animation? This is something that has cropped up a lot over the latest Dragon Ball Super movie, Super Heroes. As in past movies, it has committed to mainly 2D animation with sprinkles of CGI, but in Super Heroes, the whole movie was in CGI. Whilst watching it in the cinemas, many of my friends reached the same conclusion. Whilst it still looked nice, it would have looked nicer in 2D as we saw in Broly. And honestly, it was hard to disagree. So why are we seeing a lot more dominant use of CGI? With CGI, it gives the animation studios the ability to produce what they want faster, and also cheaper in comparison to hand-drawn animation. It becomes easier for the series to be created, and overall, CGI benefits the studios a lot, and perhaps ignores what maybe the audience would prefer. Maybe that sounded harsh, but there is a main conscience that 2D animation is superior to 3D. I do not, however, think this blanket statement can be applied to everything. CGI can be used in many different ways. In Attack on Titan, they have dynamic camera movement, and the maneuver gear sequences are perfect examples of this. The Monogatari series uses CGI to show how visually it is disjointed, and this is a common occurrence in series produced by Shaft. CGI has different uses, both partial or full use in anime. We see studios like Mappa produce many anime with a heavy amount of CGI, and perhaps is leading the line with multiple big hits being released that are continuing using CGI. Chainsaw Man, for instance, perhaps would become nearly impossible to produce hand-drawn and be produced before deadlines. With CGI, the movement of Chainsaw Man himself can be animated a lot easier and therefore produced faster. Mappa is a studio that must be under so much pressure to deliver on time. If we look within a year, Mappa has released Attack on Titan, the final but not final season, the Jujutsu Kaisen movie, and now Chainsaw Man. With the use of CGI, it can lead Mappa to reach these deadlines, whereas if it relied more on cel animation, perhaps they would struggle. The likes of Ufotable are very good at implementing CGI in their works, whether it be in the background or even use of action sequences. Studios like Ufotable put so much detail into fine-tuning the animation, especially the fight scenes, that with time and skill, it shows how great CGI can be. In fact, Ufotable have their own in-house CG team. It is shows like this where people will not complain about CGI, not only because it looks good, but also most people haven't realised that it is CGI, and Ufotable have been doing this now for over a decade. We see the likes of Beastars, a fully CGI anime, and it fits perfectly. Maybe it's because the cast are animals rather than humans, but looking at Beastars, the series feels naturally in its element with CGI. Whereas we look at the latest Studio Ghibli release, Earwig and the Witch, it doesn't look great. Not only does it look soulless, but Studio Ghibli has traditionally stuck to over 2D for over 35 years, so to make this transition is very alien. Hayao Miyazaki has stated many times how he does not allow CGI in his work, and that the animators, and I quote, were starting to draw to fit the computer images, which he thought was the wrong way to go. I think what this also shows between the studios is tradition. Obviously, as mentioned, Studio Ghibli is one of the older studios and has been around for 37 years, whereas MAPPA has been around for only 11 years. Obviously this is not always the case, as with the likes of Toei, but it does seem like newer studios and younger animators are more open to the use of CGI. CGI has not been around in anime nearly as long as cell animation, and with that people create a stigma. People remember the bad, like Berserk, and creates this eternal image in everyone's mind that this is what CGI is. We have great CGI and bad CGI, just like we have great still animation and bad still animation. People say, when does it stop being anime? Really, it never can. As most anime watchers know, by definition, anime is animation originating from Japan that includes both hand-drawn and computer-generated. In conclusion, CGI is a great tool for studios to produce anime faster, cheaper, and easier in most cases. CGI also provides animation that traditional anime perhaps cannot achieve. However, it is to find the right blend between the two to truly achieve great animation for our eyes. I do think, however, that CGI is here to stay. It is more prevalent than ever in both anime series and movies. Please let me know what you think about the use of CGI and your opinion of it visually. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.